Bricks and Minifigs is your one-stop shop for all things LEGO. Hit the link below to find a store near you.
Strangers from distant lands, friends of old, you've been summoned here for the return of one of the greatest LEGO themes of all time. Welcome to Rivendell. Hey there, I'm Adam, aka Ant Bandit, and welcome to another Beyond the Brick review where today we're talking all about, and I can't believe I'm saying this, LEGO Lord of the Rings. Yes, after a long holiday of 10 years, the theme is finally back with this massive set of the Elven city of Rivendell. It has 6,167 pieces, 15 incredible minifigures, actually make that 21 if you count the statues, and it releases on March 5th, 2023 for LEGO VIPs at the retail price of $500 US. Now before you go running to the comment section saying LEGO has officially abandoned Reason for Madness with that high price tag of $500, let's take a look at everything that's included here first, because this is truly an incredible set with tons of detail packed in, lots of Easter eggs put in by the designers, and if you're a Lord of the Rings fan like I am, you are absolutely going to love this one. Now, that being said, I do have criticisms and things that I wish they had done differently here, but we'll definitely get into all of that later on in this video. Of course, big thank you to LEGO for sending this over early for us to review. That being said, all the opinions in this video are entirely my own. Before we jump into the details, here's a quick look at the packaging. As expected, with any set this big, the box is also huge. And this one is actually the same exact size as the one that holds the Lion Knight's castle from last year. I have to say, as someone who usually dislikes the 18 and up black box art style, I think this one looks really good. The bright colors of Rivendell popping off that black background really give it a chance to show its quality. Inside the box, you'll find 49 numbered bags of pieces. This is what that looks like all laid out on my floor, as well as 2 small sticker sheets and 3 instruction manuals. Inside the manual, there's some info about the location of Rivendell, along with a foreword from the designers that mentions they used soundstage blueprints as reference when they were creating this. We also get images of some past Lord of the Rings sets, along with a brief description of the characters or structure that we're building in each manual. One cool thing about these instructions is that there are a ton of designer footnotes peppered throughout all 3 manuals. They comment on the build techniques or special parts that are being used on each page. Now, I don't think you need me to tell you that the build process for this set is going to take you a long time. I actually put on the extended editions of the movies while I was building, and it took me the combined runtime of all 3 movies back to back to complete this. So you're looking at a total of 12 plus hours of build time that you can spread out however you want. The set is constructed as 3 distinct modular sections that are all connected together to form the entire scene. In theory, if you're building this with a friend or your partner, you could be building one section while they're working on another, which is always really nice. When all 3 sections are completed and combined, the entire build looks beautiful with some incredible architecture, natural colors, and everywhere you look, there's some satisfying aesthetic to enjoy. Let's zoom in on some of my favorite details in each section, starting with the tower. There's some great techniques that create the exterior of this tower. For example, at the very top, there's one that I've never seen before that uses these interlocking slopes to create these angled sides, and it almost feels like it comes straight out of a mock or a custom build. It just looks that good. Down at the base of the tower, there's 5 elven statues tucked into these stone alcoves. Each of these statues are essentially 2 variants. They all use the exact same torso print, and they do have an alternate face print on the back of their head. Moving on, we have this beautiful entryway with these white arches, and this is just an example of how good this model looks from all kinds of different viewing angles. There's always something different to look at. Behind the tower, we have the largest sticker in the set as a mural depicting the War of the Last Alliance, when Isildur strikes down Sauron with the sword Narsil. Something you don't hear often in LEGO reviews, throughout this set you get plenty of great looking stickers that decorate the halls of Rivendell, such as these paintings that hang on the back of the model and even a minifig scale map of Middle-earth on a stickered 2x3 tile. Inside the tower we have the bedroom that Frodo uses, and beside the bed there's a chest holding Bilbo's sword Sting and a stickered 2x2 tile to represent his mithril armor that he gives to Frodo. You can also easily remove the top half of the tower to reveal Bilbo's writing desk inside, where he's working on his book There and Back Again. Now let's jump over to the opposite side of the model to look at this outdoor section featuring a bridge over the river and my favorite feature of this entire model, this absolutely gorgeous gazebo build. No matter how many times I step back to look at this model from a distance, this gazebo is what always catches my eye. It is so beautifully constructed with all of those different shapes and build techniques, and it perfectly captures that fantasy elven architecture style that you see in Rivendell. One of my favorite things is that it's designed to be easily removable. So you can just lift it off the base and now you have this independent build that you could display separately. You could take this to work and set it up on your desk with minifigures, or, I don't know, put it on a shelf somewhere else in your house, or use it as a wedding cake topper. It just looks so good on its own as an independent build. The stone bridge over the river and the steps leading up also look fantastic, with again some really great build techniques to make all of the shapes here. Around the side we have more foliage with two large builds for these trees, one of which has the roots protruding out of the rock face, which looks really interesting. And below that we have the forge, where Elrond reforms Narsil into the sword Anduril, the Flame of the West. This is the blade that Aragorn is given in Return of the King. Moving on, underneath the gazebo, there's a small room with some removable racks for weapon storage. Now's a great time to talk about the new molded weapons that are included here, because there are a lot of them. There are 5 brand new molds used for swords and these axes, and there are a total of 14 of those new weapons included here in this set, with many of them having at least one or multiple duplicates. Now I feel like most people will either really love these new molds with all the extra detail or really dislike them, because they are so detailed that they kind of look like third-party, non-official LEGO customs that you might find online. For me personally, I think they look great in the context of Lord of the Rings sets, and I'm really interested to see if LEGO chooses to reuse some of these weapon molds in other themes, or more likely, they get locked behind the Lord of the Rings theme for future sets because they use so many named weapons. Speaking of new molds and pieces, this set also introduces us to the very cool, very new Fern piece. It's included 36 times in this set, and there are so many different applications for custom mocks that this could be used for, and I'm really excited to see it show up in other LEGO themes. Moving on, let's get into the main meat of this build, because this is the largest portion of the entire model. It's the Council of Elrond. This is an iconic scene from the films, just beautifully depicted in LEGO. Now, just like you can remove the gazebo as its own standalone build, the council itself can also be just lifted up and removed as its own independent thing, which is honestly just incredible. Admittedly, displaying the council section separately leaves the main building feeling pretty empty, with this large open area and this big gap in the floor, but it does reveal a really cool Easter egg with the designers putting in the Eye of Sauron directly placed underneath the ring platform so that it's always focused on the one ring. You might have already noticed by now, but the builds for the council seats are incredibly clever. Using parts like these popsicles and hot dogs for armrests, it's just a really surprising and detailed way to make this ornate furniture. Now, even though these seats are beautifully detailed, I do take issue with the fact that they're tiled instead of studded, which means you can't really lock in your minifigures very well. They're all slipping and sliding around and falling out really easily, especially if you move it from one location to another. All of the minifigures are going to be falling out. Now, this is a display piece that is likely going to be set up and not touched for a long time, but still, it would be nice to have a way to keep all of the minifigures locked in. Let's get back to the main building and talk about the roof tiling, because this is one of the most prominent and unique features of the entire model. The pattern of colors here looks stunning, and this effect is created by having all these 1x1 tiles rotated at a very specific angle. And you really don't see this kind of technique used at this scale in any other LEGO set. Now, you might be wondering if this is the most tedious and frustrating part of the set to build, and the answer is not really. I mean, it's definitely the most repetitive and one of the most time-consuming things to build, but it almost feels like you're taking a break from this huge structure to work on this satisfying art piece. Thankfully, the instructions give you a great method for aligning all of them nearly perfectly by sliding a plate back and forth between the rows. Rotating the main building around, you can see that the backside is mostly open. There's some sparse furniture on the first floor with some candles and some different writing desks, but other than that, there's a lot of space to pose different figures. You can also see some brand new printed elements here used for floor tiling. Climbing the stairs to the upper level, you'll find the statue holding the shards of Narsil. This looks really cool, and the entire platform can be removed to be displayed separately, and I love that they even included a second copy of the broken sword piece. Whew, okay, so that's all the details when it comes to the build of Rivendell, but now it's time to look at the minifigs, because LEGO did not miss with this lineup. Of course, we have to start with the Fellowship, all of which have updated prints and pieces and look fantastic. Here we have Frodo Baggins of the Shire with the One Ring. He's got an updated torso print and of course a dual-sided head with two different expressions, along with those brand new pieces for the short hobbit legs that show off their bare feet. This was definitely a great new piece to see included here and makes the hobbits look so much more accurate. And you can't have Mr. Frodo without his Sam. So here's Samwise Gamgee with some updated prints of his own. He gets a dual-sided head along with a blue cape. Rounding out the hobbits, we have Merry and Pippin. Both get their own dual-sided heads with two different expressions, one of which is a really great cheery expression that matches their personality perfectly. Pippin even has his fourth piece of elven limbus bread. Next up, this is no mere ranger. This is Aragorn, son of Arathorn. And the printing here looks really good, though I do feel like the color choice of brown for his outfit looks a little bit different than it does in the movie, but it still looks really good. He also gets a dual-sided face with a calm and a stern expression. Moving on, here's Boromir of Gondor with another great example of some amazing printing that transitions perfectly from the torso piece all the way down to the leg printing, which just looks fantastic. He also gets two expressions and is the only figure in the entire set that gets a printed shield element with that iconic round shield that you see him use in the movies. Next, here's Gimli the Dwarf, who got a lot of tweaks and updates to his minifigure in this set. Everything such as updated printing on that molded helmet piece, which looks really good, an updated beard piece, and an updated face print underneath the beard, and they even gave him mid-legs instead of short legs so that he's taller than a hobbit, but shorter than an elf. Speaking of elves, here's Legolas, sporting that new dual-molded elf hairpiece with the ears, along with dual-molded legs and updated prints all around. Now, to nitpick, because he's one of my favorite characters in the Fellowship, I feel like this is the least accurate of the bunch, just because I usually associate him with having his hair pulled back, and that new elf hairpiece, even though it looks great, can definitely be restricting for his movement when you want to turn his head side to side or put him in a different action pose, but overall, I think it's a great updated look for this character. Last but certainly not least in the Fellowship, we have Gandalf the Grey. He's the only character in this set to use the spongier fabric style for his cape. He also gets a wizard staff and a printed element for his robe piece. No alternate expression for Gandalf, but that makes sense because the back of his head is exposed and you can just barely see his eyes poking out over the top of his beard. Now that we've covered the Fellowship, let's look at the other characters included here in this set, starting with old Bilbo Baggins. This is the first time that this version of Bilbo has ever been made, so it's really great to get him here. He's the only hobbit that has tan as a color in those dual-molded short legs, and he also gets a pretty scary alternate expression for when he lunges at the ring. Next, here's a look at Arwen, who has some great printing for her dress piece, along with that new dual-molded elf hair in dark brown. Though I'm a bit disappointed to see a pretty common face print used for other characters used for her dual-sided expressions. But then we have her father, Elrond, who is definitely one of the best looking figures in this entire set, with those great printed robes and a very characteristic scowl used for one of his expressions. Next, we have another dwarf named Gloin. This character only briefly appears in this one council scene, so even though it feels like a random inclusion in this set, it does make sense that he's here, and it's always good to get another dwarf minifig. Not only is this character Gimli's father, but he's actually played by the same actor that plays Gimli. Finally, we get 2 random elf civilians, and these are absolutely great minifigures. I'm so glad that these are included. Not only do you get more of those elf hair pieces, but it's just great to have a few random inhabitants of Rivendell. And even though these are unnamed characters, the male elf here kind of looks like a certain character named Figwit. Before we move on from minifigs, I have to show off this weird new brick-built technique that allows some of the characters to sit down. Frodo and Bilbo both receive these snot bricks that just attach right onto the bottom of their torso to give them their legs in that sitting position. This definitely looks a little bit odd, but it gets even stranger when you see just how much they got going on in the back. Definitely a clever solution to allow the characters with short legs to sit down. One minor nitpick I have is that Frodo's sitting legs doesn't match the color of his actual legs, one being reddish brown and the other being dark brown. Again, super minor nitpick, but it feels like it would have been an easy fix. Both Elrond and Gandalf get the same treatment, with small brick-built versions of their robes that allow them to sit down. However, both of these get some specialized prints with those 2x4 curved slopes that are an identical match to the printing on their robe pieces. Both of these look really good, even though the characters tend to sit on the very edge of their seats when they're in this position. Let's talk about some overall impressions and thoughts about this entire set. This is the ultimate LEGO Lord of the Rings experience, with some incredible build techniques, beautiful aesthetics all around, and as it's intended, a great display piece for LEGO and fantasy fans alike. Now we have to talk about the Oliphant in the room with that price of $500. There is no getting around it. That is a lot of money, and this is definitely an expensive LEGO set. I feel like it's gonna put a lot of fans and collectors in a difficult decision when it comes to choosing between all of the amazing LEGO sets in that $300 to $600 price range. Considering all the factors with everything that's included here, the build experience and all the new molds, the license fee, I definitely feel like there's $500 worth of value here. Now, no, that doesn't change the fact that this is still an incredibly expensive set that's gonna be out of reach for a lot of collectors and fans that might be interested in it. Personally, I would have loved to see this price closer to $400 instead of $500. I think that would have made this a lot more accessible even at that high price tag. But there's really no getting around how epic this build is, and it will absolutely go down in history as one of the most beautiful modern LEGO sets of all time. If you're a Lord of the Rings fan or just a fan of gorgeous LEGO architecture, then this set is perfect for you. Even if this is the one big LEGO purchase that you save up for and buy during the year, it is absolutely worth it. I have no doubt that this set will be incredibly popular, and hopefully it encourages LEGO to put out some smaller, more affordable Lord of the Rings sets that more people can enjoy. If anything, the return of the Lord of the Rings theme proves that there is some good in this world. And that's all I have to say about Rivendell. Thanks so much for watching and sticking to the end of this deep dive review. If you're looking for more LEGO content, you're already in the right place here on Beyond the Brick. Once again, I'm Adam. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.